Okay, I know. You're excited, I can tell. Just lay down right here and you can hear all about all the books. Yeah, you can. Hi, readers. It's Lori and Winnie. Welcome back to our channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. Apparently, she's really wanting more of a starring role in this production, and we'll see what happens. But for now, she's laying down next to me. I'm here to talk about the books I read in March. I really feel pretty good about my March reading wrap up, and I'm also noticing I'm struggling a little bit the first few days of this new month to get some reading done, to focus. I don't know what's happening. I'll figure it out. All right, let's talk about my stats because Winnie worked really hard on these and I want to make sure that we talk about them. So I read 8 books in the month of March, which was 2,130 pages. My average time to finish reading a book this last month was about 5 days. My moods were all over the place. I think I hit every mood in the park that Storygraph has laid out for me, but primarily reflective and mysterious. So that's interesting. And then a little bit of lighthearted was following those. So they really got the biggest. I had a little bit of darkness. I'll tell you about the one that was dark. I can tell you which one it was for sure. Really dark. My pace was mostly medium pace, but I had some that were fast paced too. So 38% fast paced versus 63% medium. I actually read 68% of the novels that had 300 to 499 pages, whereas less than 300 was 38%. And then the same spread for fiction versus nonfiction. 63% were fiction, 38% nonfiction. I'm happy to say I read 2 nonfiction books this month, and that made me very, very happy. I'd like to increase that a little bit, but I'm also trying to read my backlist, and neither of those I don't think were on my backlist from last year and beyond. I had a little bit more trouble with the backlist reading this month. Not gonna excuse that, but also going to work harder at that in April. Most of the books I read this month were either mystery or literary fiction. That was definitely the top of that pile. I had a middle grade and a children's book in there. I had an LGBTQI plus themed book, one only, thriller, self-help, science, memoir, historical, food and drink, fantasy, crime, and business. Those were each one book. It's funny. You're wondering, food and drink. Maybe you're not wondering because you helped me pick it out. So that's a hint. So the format, layout, 63% of the books I read were in print. 63% and I are really rolling it this month for sure. Digital was 13%, 25% were audio. And so I'm trying to get back into audio, and that's, not bad, pretty good. So I had a pretty good average rating month too. I had 1 5-star, and the rest of them were 4 stars. So that's really good. Very, very good. All right. So the peak days that I read were March 7th, which is really kind of surprising to me because that was a really busy day. It was a Friday. I don't usually read much on Fridays. I had a lot of clients. I don't know how that happened. I must have pushed myself to finish something. March 9th was another high reading day, which was a Sunday, and that makes sense. I can often read a good bit of books on Sunday. And then March 20th was a pretty leisurely day, but I don't know why I would have read more on that day because, it was a work day, but I only had 2 meetings that day, so it was a good reading day for me. Maybe I didn't feel good and I just took some time to read. I don't know. It is a blessing to work for yourself in many ways. The number of books that would fulfill my Read the Backlist challenge. 1, 2, no, I got that in January. 1, 1. I can't even. Nope, I can't. One book fulfilled the backlist prompt. I feel really bad about that. I really, really do. But, sometimes That just happens. Middle grade March. I don't have a lot of middle grade books on my shelves, so that definitely was a factor, but I'm not unhappy about it. And then I had my book club read, which is not a backlist book for me either. I had never heard of it, although I really did enjoy it. And then I had my nonfiction read, which was fairly new as well. And I had a book of the month, try to read a book of the month every month, as you know, and that came out in January. And then I had the one for the Mardi Gras readathon. So that's where we are. And most of these are not physically available to me at the moment because I'll show you in a minute. The first one is Bayou Book Thief by Ellen Byron. This was our group read for the Mardi Gras Readathon 2025, and a number of us got together and talked about this after. There is a video about that as well. So if you want to read it, there are some spoiler alerts, but I don't think we were terrible about that. But this one I started like March 1st, and I read it before our event. So it was a quick read for me. I really liked it more than I realized I would. And so I liked it enough that I got the second one in the series, which you just saw in my haul. So this is about Ricky James Diaz, who goes home to New Orleans after her husband dies in a motorcycle stunt. He was a stunt man and he didn't hit the landing. And so she ends up going back to New Orleans and she gets a job at a museum where she then opens up a little vintage cookbook shop for the museum. And it's really cute and quaint, this one. And there's lots of people that work at the museum, which are the main characters in this novel. I liked most of them very, very much. She's actually in the Garden District too, which is one of my favorite places in New Orleans. But as you probably know, then someone dies and she helps to figure out what happened. The police officer that she works with is not very supportive. I will say that. And that's often, I don't know, not exactly what I like. I like it when they work together, but maybe she gets better in the second one. We'll see. But that's my only kind of complaint about it. But it was a 4-star read for me, solid. I liked it. And again, I liked it enough that I'm going to continue to go on. This is quite a fun book. It really was. It was really quite fun. And she starts over in New Orleans. So I liked that aspect of it too. And there was another plot twist that I didn't know was necessary either, but I was fine with it. Then I read Voyage to the Volcano, which is a chapter book on the Magic School Bus series. Mrs. Frizzle is back. I love Mrs. Frizzle or Miss Frizzle. I think she's not married. And this is obviously a book about the kids going on a school field trip to learn about volcanoes and then what might happen. I mean, it could erupt. But I absolutely adored this. Obviously, I finished it really, really quickly. This is really essentially about two kids who are fighting to be the smartest kids in their science class, and they're studying all about volcanoes. There's notebook pages where they've written their synopses, and they're trying to share all their knowledge, and hopefully they're going to get, this prize. I think there's a prize that they get, but I loved this. I probably will share this with my granddaughter, and if she wants to keep it, I'll just replace it with another book in the little free library because I didn't get it meaning to keep it, but I do think she will enjoy it, and maybe she'll read it to her brother too. But this was my, wait for it, 5-star read. It was really, really that good. It was 5 stars. I love, love, love those books. The next one I read was my book of the month for the month selection. This was a new release, so it came out in 2025. This is Penitence by Kristen Koval, and I was really anticipating this one. I really thought this was going to be my 5-star read. It was not. It was 4 stars for me. I liked it a lot. I didn't love it. I liked it a lot. And here's what I think happened. I had an expectation of what was going to happen in this book. And it really did not happen. So I expected, I'll share this with you because it's not a spoiler alert, I guess. I just want you to sort of know that I thought this was going to be more about the murder and the thriller aspects of trying to figure out what happened and why and whatever. It was really more a family saga about relationships and about the trajectory of this family and how they got to where they were and what was going on for them before the murder and what would then occur to them that needed to be accepted and dealt with and understood. So it's much more literary fiction than it is mystery thriller. And I think that's fine. I enjoyed it a lot. I really highly recommend it. I just did not get the sort of, ooh, what's going to happen? Why did she do it? Why did all that stuff? I just wasn't filled with that mostly. Now, this is about a 13-year-old child of Angie and David's who kills her brother in the middle of the night, and they have no idea why, what possessed her to do it. She won't tell them. She calls the police on herself. So you learn about this family's current situation. You learn a little bit about their past situation, how they got together, how they had the children, those kinds of things. Then the mother, Angie, reaches out to a woman that she knows who was a mother to one of her best friends growing up, and they had a bit more than a friendship going. She reaches out to this woman to defend her child, and she begins to meet with the child, and then later brings her son in, who's also an attorney, and her son and Angie had this relationship. Will this impact her now? Will this impact her marriage? Will this impact the case? All those questions come up as you think about this, and all those things are in the synopsis for sure. So this spans several locations and timelines. You go back to Colorado when they were growing up, then you go to New York City, then you go to, which is pre 9/11. Then I think there is a little bit of discussion about 9/11, and then you go to the present. This is really a literary fiction novel. It's very well written. I really enjoyed the way the author laid this out. I think it's easier to read physically, some people have said, than it is to listen to the audio because it does jump back and forth a bit. I really thought it was well paced, not necessarily fast paced, as fast paced as I thought it would be when it was going to be more of a mystery thriller courtroom drama. Still really, really well done. And I would read something else by Kristen Koval for sure. She was a former lawyer as well. And I think this is her debut. But don't quote me on that because my memory this morning is exhausted. Okay, that's this end of the physical books. Now we go to the digital or to the audio books. Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston was a middle grade March choice for me. It was recommended by a number of people. I had never read anything by this author, and I had also just heard it recommended to me by Katie on the Currently Reading podcast. It was like, oh, I've got to read this. Somebody has told me before that I need to read this, and now here they're telling me again. So I did. This was also a 4-star read for me. It's highly recommended, this series. I think I would go on to read another one of these. I'm not certain though, because I don't read a lot of middle grade, so that would be the only reason. So here's my review on Goodreads. I often felt like I was right there with Amari, her mom, Elsie, and others as she navigates the world that her brother Quentin has invited her to explore as a candidate for a magical environment. I love that this novel not only fully explores the setting and characters, but also includes the tensions of race, culture, and integrity. Amari is not treated well by her peers, so I'm including a sensitivity warning here for some gentle readers. I am certain that the author's reasons for including it are justified and important for young readers. I guess I just want a world where young girls aren't bullied and ridiculed publicly, but that world probably doesn't exist. Onward to book 2 as soon as I can get it. So clearly some time has passed since I wrote that review, but I wanted you to hear that review because I really think that that is something that I, in the moment, wrote, which is always better than coming back and doing these. I probably should do that more often. But also, I wanted you to understand kind of the texture of this. So a little bit more about the plot is essentially just that she was chosen with a note from her brother to go on this sort of almost like a Hunger Games quest to see if she's accepted to this next level of work in this magical place. And there's challenge. There's a lot of challenge there. It was good though. It was suspenseful. It was pretty fast paced. I think that was one of my faster paced reads. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. If you've read this whole series, do let me know because I'm curious about the rest of it. Swimming in the Dark by Tomasz Jadrowski is a book that was selected by my Pride Without Prejudice book club, and I was finally able to actually be with them in the room. And I finished this book and gave it 4 stars as well. I finished it right before we had book club. I'm probably going to have the same challenge with the one that we're reading in April. This one was a surprise to me. I did not expect it to be this good. This is about two gay men in the 80s in Poland, and this is just before the violent eruption of the of communism and people who are struggling and who are Jews. And it's really a very difficult time to be living where they live, especially for one of them. So the two characters in this book are Ludwig and Janusz, and they meet at a summer camp. They're younger men, but definitely not teenagers. And they end up striking up a friendship, and one of them is trying to sort of get the pulse on the other one, and it's unclear and it feels awkward and challenging, and then they become more than friends. It is a love story for sure, but it's also a difficult love story. It's not tied up in a pretty bow and everything's easy and free and lovely because of the circumstances of which they live, the political leanings of each of them, and the family stuff that's happening for one of them. So I really enjoyed this, like I said, more than I realized that I would. It was not quite a 5-star read for me, and I think the reason is because it was a little slow to burn. It kind of just kept getting stuck, and I wanted things to happen more quickly, but I'm not the author, so I shouldn't be able to worry about that. But that is why I wasn't quite sure that I wanted to get to that. The next one is Be Ready When the Luck Happens with Ina Garten. This was my nonfiction pick that you chose for me. I'm excited that you did. I really loved this. I don't know what would have made this a 5-star either, but memoirs are hard to judge because you can't judge their story because it's the truth. It's what happened to them. But I guess in this case too, I don't know. I don't know what it was. It was a 4-star read for me, maybe 4.5. Ina Garten tells the story of her, youth and not like childhood babyness, but she does talk about a little bit of her life as a young person with her parents, who were both pretty difficult people, to be quite honest. She's very candid about that. And I was surprised. I really did not expect that to be a part of her life. And I don't know why. I guess because she seems so easygoing and happy. And I would say the tone of this book is mostly easygoing and happy too. But she does talk about that. She talks a little bit about her relationship with her husband. She talks about how that built and how that grew, but also how it wasn't 100% happiness all the time. They weren't living together for a number of different times in their lives, basically because of the work they were both doing. But then, of course, she talks about her success and how this occurred and how hard she worked for it was really quite inspiring to me as a business owner. I don't work that hard, I gotta tell you. But I do, I guess, like I need to realize that I had a really good year in 2024, my best year yet. So I need to celebrate that, right? But this woman just gave it everything. Of course, she was much younger than I am now, too. I loved the stories about how she developed the Barefoot Contessa, what she had to do to be able to make this work. Some of the things were hilarious. Some of them were scary. The celebrities that she's done, and I've seen some of those shows that she's done cooking with. Emily Blunt is one that stands out in my head for sure, and Jen Garner. But I just loved this memoir. It's maybe my favorite memoir for a while. And I think that if you haven't read it already, you will enjoy it. And those of you who recommended this to me to read for this quarter, thank you, thank you, thank you. This was a great pick. I really liked it. Now to something dark and difficult. All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby was my second read by this author. Also gave this 4 stars, obviously. I read this on Kindle. I highlighted a lot of passages on this because it was beautifully written. The way he writes is incredible, and it's very dark and difficult. It was very gruesome. It was very explicit. So the content warnings for this are quite high. I did not write a review for this yet. I wanted to give myself some time. I don't know if I'll go back and do that or not. I'm bad at putting reviews in, I have to say. I do recommend this book. if you have the capacity and the stomach for it. So this is about Titus Crow, who did work for the FBI for a number of years, and something happened. You're pretty aware of that quickly. He's got a memory of something that he's not letting go, and he measures himself against that memory quite often. He hears the voice of that person in that circumstance talking to him now in this real life. And I really liked that aspect, because how many times do we bring things back from the past and judge ourselves or have that conversation with ourselves that is challenging and difficult, right? He has a brother. His brother is kind of going on and doing his own thing. He lives with his dad, and he has a girlfriend who comes and stays at their house now and again. And he is the chief of the police there. He has a great team. He discovers right off that a school shooting has occurred, and a teacher is killed. A beloved teacher is killed by a boy, a black boy, that comes out with a gun, talks about what he's done in a kind of cryptic, weird way. And then he discovers then what was behind this. And it is quite a discovery, I gotta say. I don't want you to know anything about it from me, but it is quite a complex web of investigation. This was the mystery thriller that I was looking for. I got it, but I also got some pretty intense visual things that were happening inside of my brain. But again, I'm pretty sturdy, but I know that this book is not for everybody. It was really, really gruesome. But I like the way it rolled out. I think maybe the only reason I didn't give it 5 stars was because it was a little bit slow to get to where we wanted, and then it kind of went at the end, which is fine. But sometimes I like it to grow a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. But it was really, really good. It's probably more like a 4.5 for me. If I were to kind of review this, it probably was. But I gave it a 4. I'm trying not to overrate, because I think sometimes I do. The excitement that I feel kind of takes over. This is also content warnings for very, very racist themes. Very, very racist themes. This is not an easy book that even is wrapped up in a bow. It's just dark and difficult. And that was the darkness that I really felt in this reading month. There wasn't a lot more of that except for in this one book. And then the last one was a convenient surprise for me. I'm reading it over again, listening to it actually. This is called How to Keep House While Drowning. And I gotta say, this was not what I expected. I saw this pop up some way on my social media, and it was a NPR Book of the Year for not Book of the Year, but one of the top 10 or top 20 books that NPR rated last year as good. And I was like, it's the spring cleaning time of my life, and this might be fun. It was quick, short, listen. I thought, oh, I'll do this. It was not what I expected. This is not a woman who tells you how to clean your house or how to make good habits or how to organize it or how to do this or how to do that. And what it is how to keep you from drowning from your own internal self-criticism and external pressure that we all feel to be these perfect people who keep everything clean and neat and do it all and prepare parties and, all this stuff. And I'm noticing this is less of an issue for me and more of an issue for my girls. And so I probably will gift this to my girls very soon. I've talked to 2 of them about it already. Sarah's got a Kindle now, well, a tablet now. So we'll talk about that later in another video because I'm so excited for her. She's really loving the Kindle thing, but she may have to get it in that format. But honest to goodness, this is so helpful because it helps you to understand what motivates you, what doesn't motivate you, how to stop shaming yourself about not riding that bicycle that's in your bedroom that you thought you were going to ride every day and be fit, about not walking, about not recycling everything, about not being able to take care of the baby and the house and the work. And it is really just about understanding executive function and purpose and meaning and motivation and yourself and the way your brain thinks. Even better, this is written by a woman who has ADHD, and it is written so that people who with neurodiversity can listen to this or read it easily. She's made short chapters. She's helped you to be focused on the main point. She revisits the main point. She talks through something with great examples. I can't tell you how much I admire this woman. She is a therapist. She is a person who has great writing ability in this vein anyway, in the nonfiction world. I don't know that she's ever tried to write a novel, but holy cow, when I tell you that I really loved this book, I really loved this book. I think I should have given this 5 stars too. I just don't know what's wrong with me this month. I may go back and revise this, but I really, really recommend this. If you're struggling, if you are self-judging, if you are shaming, if you are crying over your dinner that you had to throw in the microwave because you had no dinner plan. I mean, I definitely have some negative self-talk. One of the things I remember she said was, instead of saying my house is a mess, you can say something, and this isn't a direct quote, something like, my house is at the end of its current executive function. Now, I know for some of you, you're rolling your eyes, but I was like, okay, I don't use the word executive function that often, and you would probably think I would as a coach, but I really think that that's absolutely the truth. My house isn't a mess. My house is experiencing something that my inability to attend to it has helped to create, but it's not my fault, right? And it's not my house's fault, and it's not anybody's fault. And I go through this internal war about whether to hire somebody to clean my house, which I have somebody. She's a lovely person. Heather, her and her guy do a great job. I don't mind having them come. But do I feel guilty about the money that I paid for somebody else to clean my house when I, Fran's daughter, should be cleaning my own house with ease, with diligence, with attention to the most difficult detail? I must be wiping down my spice rack bottles every single week. No, I'm not Fran. And I also have some residual stuff from the way that Fran kept house. And I also, though, judge myself internally all the time. If I leave a dish in the sink overnight, and this woman talks about leaving dishes in her sink all the time, and there's a little part of inner Lori, little Fran, that says, oh my God, I can't. But guess who left her ice cream bowl in the sink overnight with water in it? Because she just did. She just did. Guess who didn't prep her coffee for the morning the other day and had to wake up and make her coffee in a very, difficult, sleepy state, but she did it. Did she complain to the other person inside of her that didn't prep the coffee the night before? Yes. So it's really about this whole internal system that we have set up for ourselves and how we can reduce the pressure that we put on that system, how we can make that system work better with a little bit more awareness, self-awareness, and really just grace. Give yourself grace. I loved it. I highly recommend it. Super short. I'll probably buy a physical copy of it. I might even underline things or use darts or I don't know what, but I absolutely think this is an incredible book, and I borrowed it, so I will have to return it at some point, but I am definitely going to pick that up. Thanks for watching today. Let me know what you read in the month of March. Let me know if any of these books sparks your interest, or if any of these books are books that you also enjoyed or maybe didn't enjoy. Maybe you gave some of them 5 stars when I just didn't have the ability to figure that out in the moment, but I appreciate you all. I appreciate your watching, your subscriptions, your support, your channels that I watch to see what you read. Thank you all for everything. And as always, happy reading. Bye.